then, the judgment of PhilHealth to disburse its funds is limited by Section 11. That reserve funds, as it is named, is reserved.
Oh, shit!
And cannot be subject to the discretion of PhilHealth to be used for another purpose. Has the government spent even a single centavo from that loan, considering that the project has not even started?
Well, there is nothing to spend for if the project has not even started, Your
So
Honor.
where is the money?
The money went presumably to the National Treasury for the purpose of using it for projects and programs under the unprogrammed
So we
appropriations.
have unused funds for the project, and yet we still got money from PhilHealth to supplement this fund that has been unused for years.
Kung bago ka lang dito sa NTPH, maaari bang makahingi ng isang like at subscribe? At huwag kalimutan pindutin ang notification bell para ma-notify kapag may ganito tayong upload. Salamat kabayan!
PhilHealth has a 500 billion reserve, and the cost of to provide their services in 1 year is less than 100 billion. So their budget actually for expenditure is in the 260 billion, is in 100 and plus billion. So meron pa ring reserve. That's why I know na naabala ang tao because bakit natin binawasan? Dahil ang katotohanan dyan ay kung tignan ninyo, kaya binawi ng Department of Finance yung ilang reserve na naman doon na naiwan dahil hindi nagamit yun ng ilang taon. In other words, the PhilHealth has sufficient budget to do all of the things that they want to do. So let's go back the last 2 years. Kung titignan ninyo, ang services na binibigay, ang mga treatment na binabayaran ngayon ng PhilHealth ay nag-expand na ng gusto. We are taking care of many more conditions, many more diseases. We have more dialysis patients. We are attending to more people. That's from the budget of 2023 and 2024. So patuloy, pataas ng pataas. Pati yung pagbayad.
Hindi totoo yan.
Ang payments ngayon natin for cancer, for the other diseases, hundreds of percent ang increase doon sa dati. In other words, kaya ng PhilHealth na bayaran yan. And the reason why is that we do not want to subsidize it is because it is the subsidy will lang doon sa bank account ng PhilHealth, hindi magagamit. Marami tayong paggagamitan noon. So that's a simple explanation there. Is that they have sufficient funds to carry on. Because ang problema sa PhilHealth, ang problema ngayon sa PhilHealth, hindi tungkol sa pagbigay ng serbisyo. Hindi sa pagbigay ng insurance cover. Hindi yan ang problema na kulang sila sa budget kaya hindi sila nakakapag-alaga ng tao. Kulang sila sa budget kaya maliit ang bayad. Hindi yan ang problema. Ang problema, kung titignan ninyo, you look at the reports that are happening, sa dami ng bagong services ng PhilHealth, sa dami ng mga bagong payment na binibigay ng PhilHealth, nababara ang sistema. You can see there are in the provinces, merong mga tao nag-aantay buong araw, yung pilat 200 tao. Nag-aantay, magke-claim sila. Hindi naman mahirap. Pero that's what's happened in PhilHealth. Yun ang problema sa PhilHealth. The problem is the processing capacity. Kaya ang naging priority, isa sa pinakamalaking priority sa PhilHealth, of course, to continue to provide services, to continue to provide insurance, is pag-digitalize na kayo. Patuloy kanila, that's where the effort is para lahat itong mga taong ito ma-process natin. Tuloy-tuloy naman, tuloy-tuloy. Tuloy pa rin ang insurance, tuloy pa rin ang bayaran ng claim. And at the same time, mabilis makuha ng
Hindi
tao
totoo yan.
yung kanilang insurance claim.
Okay, Mr. Solicitor General, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Solicitor General. Mr. Solicitor General, can you please refer to the provision in the law, UHCA law, regarding which reads, no portion of the reserve fund or income thereof shall accrue to the general fund of the national government or any of its agencies or instrumentalities, including government-owned or controlled corporation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is this the first time last year? Was it the first time that GOCCs or any government agency for that matter were required to review and reduce their respective reserve funds for the purpose of producing funds to be transferred to the National Treasury?
As far as I know, this is the first time, Your Honor.
All right. So, would you agree that in so doing, review and reduce their respective reserve funds? Okay. The PhilHealth specifically reopened the closed books. Its closed books in 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Your Honor, I am not really very sure about the technical meaning of reopening one's books. But as far as I know, based on that provision of the special provision 1D, Chapter 43, on the unprogrammed appropriations, what is simply required is for the GOCCs to review and reduce to a reasonable level their reserve funds on the basis of their historical disbursements over the past few years, 3 years to be more specific.
Yes,
So
Mr.
it's a matter of
Solicitor General.
simply looking at the data pertaining to their annual disbursements for 2021, 2022, and 2023.
All right. And because of this review, the PhilHealth was able to reduce its reserve funds for these 3 years. And it is those funds that the PhilHealth transferred to the Bureau of Treasury.
No, Your Honor. They computed the reasonable amount of reserves based on actual disbursements for the past 3 years. And the remainder is the one that was used as basis for determining the amount to be remitted back to the National
So do
Treasury.
you mean to say, Mr. Solicitor General, that for 2021, there was an excess reserve funds?
Excess of reserve funds?
Funds, yes.
I would say that, excess of reserve funds in relation to what, Your Honor?
Reserve funds are specifically earmarked to answer or cover payments
Yes,
of
Your
the
Honor.
claims of beneficiaries. And if there is an excess, to fund programs that will ultimately reduce the financial responsibilities of the beneficiaries. And third, if there's still excess in the excess, to invest the same. So, Mr. Solicitor General, in 2021, was there excess reserve funds?
Your Honor, if we are going by the definition of reserve fund under Section 11 of the Universal Health Care Act, That reserve fund is determined by the actuarial computation.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General, I have no quarrel with that. My point is, was there excess funds in 2021 coming from the reserve funds of PhilHealth?
Yes, the answer to that question is yes, Your
and
Honor.
Section 11 tells PhilHealth what to do with the excess funds.
Exactly, Your
Doesn't
Honor.
it? Yes?
No, Your Honor, there is no violation because that responsibility on the part of PhilHealth to make use of any excess over the reserve fund for the twin purposes of increasing benefit packages and reducing the contributions from the members is something that can be implemented within the period of 10 years. It's not something that has to be implemented immediately. So in other words, even if we have that special provision 1D, it does not mean that the obligations of PhilHealth to spend the excess over its reserve fund has been abandoned because that is something that can be complied with at some future time. It's
At
a
some
10-year
future time.
It's a 10-year period of
Yes,
implementation, Your
and
Honor.
this is the sixth year.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you have not started with the programs yet. Because according to you, the excess funds may be devoted for other purposes. Because anyway, the timeline is 10 years.
No, Your Honor, there is no inconsistency because as we speak, PhilHealth has been increasing its benefit packages even before Special Provision 1D came into effect. And more so after that provision, special provision, was enacted as part of the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, Mr.
We have seen a
Solicitor
slew of benefit increases over the past several months, Your Honor.
Several months, not only. Several months only.
But
When PhilHealth is required to do it from the time it has been created under UHCA.
That is very true, Your Honor,
Yes.
but this is a matter which is reserved to the Board of Directors of PhilHealth. This is
Yes.
a management
A
thing.
management and a business judgment. But then, the judgment of PhilHealth to disburse its funds is limited by Section 11. That reserve funds, as it is named, is reserved and cannot be subject to the discretion of PhilHealth to be used for another purpose.
We are referring, Your Honor, to the excess over the reserve fund.
Yes, but the excess is also subject to the provision of Section 11. And Section 11 mentions the purposes for which this excess should have been used.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me discuss the second purpose, which is to reduce the contributions of the members. In our opinion, Your Honor, that is something that PhilHealth itself cannot do at the moment. There is no mechanism provided under the Universal Healthcare Act that would authorize the reduction at this time of the contributions from the members. What we see in the Universal Healthcare is a schedule of the premium rates from 2019 down to 2025. But after 2025, there's nothing there. And there is neither any provision for a reduction of the contributions rates, the premium rates. So it is our opinion, Your Honor, that legislative action is necessary to bring down the contribution premium rates.
Right? That is your opinion, Mr. Solicitor General.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. But this court's, my reading is this. This is self-executing. And it is PhilHealth that must execute it because the law is in place already. All right. All right. When funding unprogrammed appropriations, how does Congress determine where to get the funds and which appropriations to realign?
Your Honor, under Special Provision 1D, there are various sources of funds, such as excess of revenue collections over the targets, or new revenues, whether these are tax or non-tax. There are foreign loans approved, which might also go into the pool. And finally, this new additional source.
And excess reserve funds.
Excess...
Reserve funds.
No, it's called
As a result,
fund balance.
Yes,
Your Honor.
as a result of the review and reduction scheme.
To reasonable levels
Yeah.
of
to
their
reasonable level
reserve funds.
is discretionary. It has no fixed standard. All right.
There are
So-
guidelines, Your Honor, set by the Department
Yes.
of Finance for determining the computation of what should be a reasonable level.
Yes. According to the DOF, the funds to be remitted to the National Treasury will finance urgent national projects. In Annex A of your compliance, dated November 8, 2024, pages 1 to 4, the OSG enumerated some of these projects, including routine maintenance of national roads, the Panay-Guimaras-Negros Island Bridges, or the PGN Bridges project, and payment of right-of-way. These are all construction projects, Mr. Solicitor General, correct?
Not all of them, Your Honor.
All
Some
right.
of them pertain to health projects.
No, I'm talking about the routine maintenance of national roads, the PGN Bridges project, and payment of right-of-way, correct?
In a sense, they are
Yes,
routinary,
they are.
ordinary expenses
They
or
they
expenditures.
pertain to construction projects of the government, correct?
Infrastructure,
Yes. You can call it that, infrastructure projects, all right. With respect to the PGN Bridges project, per DBM's budget of expenditures and source of financing, FY 2024 report, the PGN Bridges project appears to be fully funded by the Export-Import Bank of Korea in the amount of 174.49 billion plus. Is there an urgency to transfer the PhilHealth funds when the project is already fully funded?
Your Honor, this is a matter really of delving into the wisdom of the legislature in allocating funds.
Yes.
So while
funding a project that is already fully funded under the category of unprogrammed funds.
I didn't quite get the
Programs.
question,
Yes.
Your Honor. Pardon me.
Yes. Export-Import Bank of Korea has loaned the Philippines 174.49 billion plus. Is there an urgency to transfer the PhilHealth funds when the project is already fully funded?
Your Honor, I think one consideration by the Congress in doing so is a determination of when a project is already implementable. So if a project that has already been identified and sufficiently funded is considered to be non-implementable for the given fiscal year, then I think it is the decision of the Congress in the exercise of its policy or wisdom, so to speak, to move it to the unprogrammed appropriations in the meantime.
Yes, all right. So, has the government moved this amount to the unprogrammed funds of the government?
There are so...
This
sorry, Your Honor.
Export-Import Bank of Korea loan, has the government moved it to unprogrammed funds?
We will have to check on
Yes,
that.
please check on that.
Yes, whether that has been actually transferred only or removed altogether.
Yes.
Because there were certain removals made by the Congress in the proposed infrastructure or other projects
How
of the
can
government.
the government have removed this when it is a loan specifically for that purpose?
It is something that can be deferred, Your Honor, even
Yes,
if it's
what
funded.
is the reason for deferring it?
Your Honor, I cannot speculate on the
Correct.
reasons of the
I go
congressman.
now, yes, to my next question. Has the government spent even a single centavo from that loan, considering that the project has not even started?
Well, there is nothing to spend for if the project has not even started.
So where is the money?
The money went presumably to the National Treasury for the purpose of using it for projects and programs under the unprogrammed
So we have
appropriations.
unused funds for the project, and yet we still got money from PhilHealth to supplement this fund that has been unused for years.
Not automatically, Your Honor, because even if the funds, even if the sources of funds under special provision, number one, of the unprogrammed appropriations is already there and is ready to be used for the projects under the unprogrammed appropriations, it is still a question of whether the implementing agency is ready to implement that project. So if the implementing agency does not think that it can implement such a project within the given year, then it will not ask for any allocation under the
Yes.
unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, but aside from the foreign funding from Korea for this project, in 2022, there was additional funding from the GAA for this project in the amount of 50 million in 2022. In 2023, another 57 million. This is over and above the Korea Export-Import Bank of Korea loan. Where did this money go when the project has not even started?
We will check on that, Your Honor, because that is a very specific project which we have not really examined.
Yes,
we're
please
looking
do
at
that.
the totality of all the projects that were defunded or where the allocations have been reduced, and or some projects that had actually been removed from the program appropriations under the NEP, and which may have found themselves in the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General. And based on the special allotment release order, the use of funds for the PGN Bridge project is released on a quarterly basis, showing that the payment of funds is done in phases. More, based on the press release of the local government of Iloilo on the project timeline, the construction period for Section A, which is the 13-kilometer Panay-Guimaras project is from a third quarter of 2025 up to the fourth quarter of 2028. Given these premises, what is the urgency of remitting the subject funds if the construction of the PG and Bridges project has already been funded and has yet to start in 2025?
Your Honor, the urgency is on the use of these available funds for all the projects listed under the unprogrammed appropriations. There are so many of them. I think 57 different
Yes,
purposes.
and it's one of them. And it's one of them. And it shows that it has had multiple fundings. All right. On maintenance of national roads, which national roads are we referring to?
Your Honor, we can refer to the SARO released by the Department of Budget and Management to determine which particular projects had already availed themselves of funding from the provisions of special
So there are no
provision.
specific national roads that are covered by the unprogrammed funds.
Your Honor, what is stated under the unprogrammed appropriations are purposes. Purposes, not specific particular project.
Correct.
Now, it depends on the implementing agency to determine which specific road project it wants to be implemented using the funds available from Special Provision 1B.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Solicitor General. In the 2024 GAA, there is already an appropriation for the maintenance of national roads under its special road fund of 15 million, 1.6 billion under maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of infrastructure facilities and other related activities, routing maintenance of national roads, and 463 million under maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of infrastructure facilities and other related activities, routing maintenance of national bridges, all under the DPWH budget. More, per DPWH Department Order Number 32 Series of 2020, the road fund shall be remitted to the National Treasury and earmarked for the construction, upgrading, repair, and rehabilitation of roads, bridges, and road drainage. Perhaps each one of us pays the road tax each time we renew our licenses or we register our cars. Considering all these fundings, why is there a need to get additional funds from PhilHealth for the same road maintenance under the category of unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, as I have explained earlier, during the deliberations of the budget, on the budget by the Congress, they determine whether some or a few or several of the projects identified by the proponent agency are something that can be implemented within the given fiscal year. So I cannot speculate, but I can only think of the reason that they may remove some of these specific projects identified in their belief that they cannot be implemented anyway or can wait until some future time, and therefore they remove them from the programmed appropriations.
Programmed appropriations, what I understand is this. There are already programmed appropriations, but in addition, unprogrammed funds were also sourced out from GOCCs. PhilHealth is one of them. So here's maintenance for roads, national roads, that carry both programmed funds and unprogrammed funds. All right. Now, let's go to the payment of right-of-way. Of course, as Solicitor General, you wouldn't know how many properties the government is projecting to pay for, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
But under the 2024 GAA, DPWH was granted 2.5 billion for payment of right-of-way. So why is there a need to tap PhilHealth funds for payment of right-of-way?
Your Honor, let me just clarify that we are not referring solely to PhilHealth funds. I mean, the remainder of...
Correct.
We are referring to a pool
Yes,
of funds.
I'm aware of that, Mr. Solicitor General. But it is a fact that money was taken, billions, in fact, 89 billion, although a little was restrained by the government, by the Supreme Court. So that's the fact, that billions of pesos were taken from the reserve funds of PhilHealth. What? For the construction of a bridge that has not even started and that has been funded many times over,
Your
and a right-of-way that is already funded by billions, and then maintenance of the roads that is already funded by billions under the GAA.
Your Honor, under the purposes listed under unprogrammed appropriations, the biggest chunk goes to social projects, including health projects. And as a matter of fact, as of December of 2024, the total amount of 46 billion pesos, thereabouts, more or less, had been devoted under the unprogrammed appropriations for social, more particularly health projects, such as the regional hospitals of the Department of Health, and most importantly, Your Honor, for the payment of the long overdue health emergency allowances of medical workers who were supposed to be paid during the pandemic, but whose payment had been substantially delayed. So the very first payment made out of the unprogrammed appropriations went to
Yes.
the payment of the health emergency allowances of nurses and other medical workers.
But there is an overlap between this general purpose for unprogrammed funds on one hand and the special purpose for which PhilHealth funds have been constituted. All right. Now, the other projects funded from the GOCCs, including PhilHealth, include management and supervision of comprehensive peace process, payment of personnel benefits, priority social programs for health, social welfare and development, higher education, and technical and vocational education, revised AFP modernization program, pension and gratuity fund, financial subsidy for purchase of photovoltaic mainstreaming for rural electrification. Now, may I ask, which comprehensive peace process does this refer to?
I'm not sure exactly which is being referred to, but I suppose that refers to the long and ongoing peace process that has started many administrations ago and which has not been completed. So I suppose this includes the peace process involving our brothers in southern Mindanao.
Yes, but like the other programs, under the unprogrammed appropriations, the 2024 GAA already has an item under the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity for this purpose, which is 459 million plus. We're flashing it on the screen. What is the need for additional 688 million plus budget under the unprogrammed appropriations? Is the peace process part of the mandate of PhilHealth?
Again, Your Honor, I cannot speculate why Congress put such a project under the unprogrammed appropriations.
Precisely, we are here, okay,
Yes,
to,
Your Honor, but
to evaluate whether the assignment of this item, the inclusion, is proper. Is it valid? Is it constitutional?
Your Honor, it's just a list. The matter of actual availment will have to be determined by the implementing
Yes,
agency.
but because of that list, 89 billion funds of the PhilHealth, minus the last remittance, was transferred to the National Treasury.
Your Honor, again, this is a matter which should be addressed to the wisdom and the policy of the legislature. So we, I believe, will not be in a position to say that a certain appropriation is right
Yes.
or wrong or proper or improper.
Yes.
We have to rely
So,
on the wisdom of
wisdom,
the
which
people
is
who represent us.
a political question.
In that
Except
sense,
only
yes.
if it is tainted with grave abuse of discretion.
Exactly, Your Honor.
All right. What about the personnel benefits? The amounts needed to implement the salary adjustments of the national government agencies shall be charged from the respective agencies' budgets per National Budget Circular number 591 of the DBM. Why is this item charged against PhilHealth and categorized as unprogrammed?
There is an existing appropriation for that under the program appropriations, Your
Yes.
Honor. But in addition, or probably in substitution of a part of the amount already allocated in the program, the appropriations, Congress deemed it proper to include as a standby this particular item if funds would be available
All right.
to support it.
Standby. But the reserve funds is not just standby. All right. Now, meanwhile, for priority social programs for health, the DOH budget under the 2024 GAA already includes 28 billion plus for the implementation of health facilities enhancement program and 58 billion plus for medical assistance for indigent and financially incapacitated patients. How are these different from the priority social programs for health under the unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, as I have explained earlier, during the process of budget deliberations, Congress might have removed or reduced the allocation for certain health projects, DOH projects, for in consideration probably of the reason that these are not implementation ready. So
Yes.
let's just put it on standby under the unprogrammed appropriations. And when there are funds to support them, then we will
Yes,
implement
funds
this.
standby means it may or may not be used.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. But the reserve funds will always be used because people get sick and they need funds for their medicines, hospital expenses. And the hospitals and doctors also have to receive the reimbursement for their expenses. Otherwise, the quality of service to our Filipino people will suffer.
Your Honor, that expense is taken care of by the accumulated income of the PhilHealth, its corporate operating budget, And in addition, it's reserve funds. So
Yes.
all of these expenditures, Your Honor, have already been considered and taken into account before PhilHealth determined what was its fund
Yes.
balance.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General. But the DOF circular specifically mentions reserve funds.
Fund balance, Your Honor, not reserve fund.
And that is what you use later. But what is in the circular itself?
Fund balance,
Okay.
not reserve fund.
Yes, fund balance, reserve funds, we can call it another name.
Yeah, but it is our
Yes.
position that they are different concepts, Your Honor.
Fund balance from where? From the accumulated benefits.
No, fund balance we're speaking in terms of the general application of DOF Circular 003-2024. That circular does not refer only to PhilHealth,
Yes.
but to all GOCCs.
Correct, but we're talking here how it affected PhilHealth.
In the case of PhilHealth, Your Honor, there was this directive by the Congress in the exercise of its legislative powers and its power to appropriate to review and reduce PhilHealth's reserve fund on the basis of its historical
Correct.
expenses.
So we're speaking
the
of reserve
remainder-
funds. We're speaking of reserve funds.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
But it's the remainder.
The remainder
ones-
of the reserve funds. Then we go back to Section 11. All right. Anyway, thank you for that. My last question is this. For the AFP modernization program, based on research, 25 billion was allotted for this under the 2020 GAA, 27 billion under the 2021 GAA, 29 billion and 50 million under the 2022 GAA. But no similar item under the 2023 and 2024 GAAs. Yet, Republic Act number 10349 extended the AFP modernization program for another 15 years. That is until 2027. In short, this expense is predictable. So why was it placed under the unprogrammed appropriations in 2023 and 2024 GAA?
Again, Your Honor, we cannot speculate
Yes.
on the reasons,
The wisdom.
on the wisdom of Congress in postponing or deferring certain
And reclassifying
expenditures.
reclassifying these funds, though predictable, from programmed to unprogrammed. All right. Mr. Solicitor General, thank you. You have all my respect.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may go back to your seat. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So for petitioner,